The Freightliner FLD 120 Conventional is the best-selling Class 8 truck in North America and is available as either a single or dual-drive truck or tractor with set forward or set back front axle. Like any advanced design piece of equipment, the FLD 120 Conventional must be maintained and serviced on a regular basis. This program will introduce you to the major maintenance procedures you'll be required to perform on the vehicles. Freightliner distributes a variety of service publications as informational sources for the servicing and maintenance of the FLD 120 Conventional. The service manual contains service and repair information for vehicle systems and components. Service and maintenance information for many components, such as transmissions, engines, and rear axles, is provided by the vendor service manuals. The maintenance manual contains routine maintenance procedures and intervals for vehicle components and systems, but does not contain detailed repair or service information. The driver's manual contains information about pre-trip inspections and the daily maintenance of vehicle components, and like the maintenance manual, does not contain detailed repair or service information. Service bulletins provide the latest service tips, field repairs, product improvements, and related information. Some service bulletins are updates to information in the service manual. These take precedence over service manual information until the manual is updated. The bulletin is then usually canceled. Detailed descriptions of these and other service publications are contained in the front of the FLA COE and FLD 120 Maintenance Manual. The front of the maintenance manual also contains an introduction to the general information section, listing the various group titles and group numbers in numerical order. It also features an illustration on how to read and interpret information contained on each page in the manual. The maintenance manual also features an alphabetical index, which lists the page numbers for the general information section of the manual, Group 00. The index guides you to details about the vehicle's engine lubricant capacities, a lubrication chart, a maintenance category chart with a description of its use, a maintenance operations chart, a metric U.S. customary conversion chart, noise emission control systems maintenance, and torque specifications. A maintenance category chart in the general information section of the manual describes 3 maintenance categories based on annual distance traveled. Within each category, 6 maintenance operations sets are listed: initial maintenance and M1 through M5. A corresponding maintenance interval is listed for each set based on the distance traveled or hours of operation for performing each set. For example, within Category 3, which covers vehicles that travel over 60,000 miles per year, the M1 maintenance operations set should be performed every 12,500 miles. The maintenance operations chart in the general information section is a matrix that lists each maintenance operation and identifies each maintenance operation set, as well as the service interval in hours and distances during which a particular operation is to be performed. For example, inspection of the engine rear support assembly should first be performed as part of an M3 maintenance operations set after 160,000 kilometers or after 100,000 miles for vehicles in Category 3. The general information section also contains an FLD 120 Conventional lubrication chart, which lists lubrication points on the vehicle. An illustration shows where each lube point is located on the vehicle. The engine section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 01. Detailed engine and exhaust emission-related information concerning service intervals and maintenance procedures is contained in each engine manufacturer's operation and maintenance manual, which is provided with the vehicle at the time of delivery. Check the engine rear support nuts for tightness. Refer to the torque specifications table for the correct torque value. The air compressor section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 13. Check the lines, hoses, and connections of the air compressor. Check the cooling fins on the compressor crankcase and clean if necessary. Alternators are covered in Group 15 in the maintenance manual. Check the tightness of the alternator bracket mounting bolts, the drive belt tension, and electrical connections. Check the charge level of the batteries. Start the engine and increase the idle speed to about 1,000 RPM. Turn off all vehicle loads, such as lights, heater, and air conditioner, and connect a voltmeter across the batteries. The voltmeter should read between 13.5 and 14.2 volts. If it does not, refer to the service manual for diagnostic and repair procedures. The engine cooling radiator section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 20. When you're required to flush the radiator and change the coolant, note that Group 20 contains specific information regarding cooling system capacities for each radiator type and engine make and model combination used for the FLA COE and FLD 120 conventional, as well as a listing of approved antifreezes. A table for determining the amount of antifreeze needed in a cooling system for a desired level of protection is also contained in this section. Before cleaning the coolant level sensor, the radiator top tank must be drained of enough coolant to expose the sensor. Be sure to drain only when the coolant is cold. Once the sensor has been removed, clean it with a fine grit sandpaper until the metal is exposed. Clean the tapped hole and the sensor threads with a wire brush. Do not use thread tape when reinstalling the sensor. The clutch section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 25. When lubricating the clutch release bearing, do not over-lubricate. Using a pressure gun and high-temperature grease only, lubricate until grease starts coming out of the fitting. If the release bearing assembly is not equipped with a grease fitting extension that extends outside the bell housing, lubricate the bearing with the engine stopped. If the fitting does extend outside the housing, lubricate with the engine running. On clutches with a sealed release bearing, no additional lubrication is required. The clutch release cross shaft is equipped with 2 grease fittings in the transmission clutch housing. After cleaning, the cross shaft should also be lubricated with multi-purpose chassis grease. The transmission section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 26. The transmission housing breathers must remain clear. A plugged breather vent could result in pressure buildup, which could cause oil leakage. If the breather vent is plugged, clean or replace it. There are magnetic plugs located on the vehicle's transmission housing, drive axles, and engine. When changing fluids in any of these components, clean the area around the fill plug and remove the plug. Remove the drain plug and clean it, removing any metal which the plug has attracted. The fifth wheel and frame section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 31. Detailed inspection and lubrication procedures for each fifth wheel component are outlined in the maintenance manual for Fontaine, Holland, and Simplex fifth wheels. If any of the conditions listed in the inspection procedures are observed, correct them immediately. For instructions, refer to Group 31 in the service manual. Frame fasteners must be tightened to the proper torque at the recommended intervals in order to compensate for bedding in or seating. Refer to Group 00 in the maintenance manual for torque values. When tightening fasteners, be sure to check the frame for cracks and other damage. The suspension section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 32. Inspect the front and rear spring assemblies, the forward and rear spring bracket and equalizer brackets, and the tandem axle frame crossmember and gussets for wear, cracks, and other damage. Replace components as necessary. Refer to Group 32 in the service manual for instructions. Check all fasteners for tightness and refer to Group 00 in the front of the maintenance manual for torque values. Follow the detailed instructions also contained in Group 32 of the maintenance manual for component inspection and operation checking. Failure to do so could result in separation of worn suspension components and loss of vehicle control. Refer to Group 32 in the manual for instructions on Freightliner front suspension and tandem axle lubrication procedures. After following the step-by-step instructions in the maintenance manual for inspection of the equalizer bushing, replace the bushings if up and down movement at the center of the equalizer exceeds 1/8 inch, or if clearance between the equalizer assembly and any frame component or fastener is less than 1/8 inch. Refer to Group 32 in the service manual for instructions. When working on a Freightliner air suspension, check all airlines and fittings and tighten where necessary. Check that the airline support brackets are positioned so that the airlines do not rub against anything. Check the U-bolts on both the front and rear axle for proper torque values, and if required, tighten the U-bolt nuts according to the directions in the maintenance manual. The wheels and tires section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 40. In addition to the vehicle maintenance interval shown in Group 00 at the beginning of the maintenance manual, check the wheel nut torque the first 50 to 100 miles of operation after a tire change. Refer to the tables contained in Group 40 for wheel nut torque specifications and for the tightening sequence. Check the tires to see if they need to be rotated. The driveline section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 41. Before lubricating the driveline slip joint, wipe away any old grease and dirt. Add multi-purpose chassis grease until it appears at the pressure relief hole in the yoke plug. Then cover the relief hole with your finger while continuing to apply grease gun pressure until the grease appears at the slip joint seal. This ensures complete lubrication of the splines. Wipe away any purged or excess grease. Wipe all old grease and dirt from each U-joint grease fitting. Use a hand-type grease gun or a grease gun with a low-pressure adapter to supply lubricant to the U-joints. Add multi-purpose grease until all 4 U-joint bearing caps are purged of old grease, and new grease can be seen escaping from all 4 seals of the U-joint. If grease does not appear at one or more of the 4 seals, follow the instructions in Group 41 of the maintenance manual to clear the seals. Wipe the purged grease from the seals and any excess grease from the grease fittings. If the bearing will not take grease, or if the purged grease appears rusty, gritty, or burned, replace the U-joint cross assembly following the procedure in Group 41 of the service manual. The brake section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 42. To inspect either a front or rear axle automatic slack adjuster, remove the pressure relief cap screw, pawl spring, and pawl. Examine the pawl for grease retention and condition. If grease is in good condition, install the pressure relief fitting, pawl spring, and pawl as detailed in the maintenance manual, and lube the slack adjuster. If the grease has hardened or the pawl is dry and shows excess wear, remove the slack adjuster, disassemble, and clean it. Refer to Group 42 in the service manual for internal parts inspection, assembly, and lubrication instructions. Remove the foot valve from the firewall. Then remove the brake plunger. Check the plunger for existing lubrication. If dry, lubricate it following the instructions as outlined in the maintenance manual. Follow the instructions in the maintenance manual for brake chamber inspection and air leakage checks. If the brake chamber requires repair, refer to Group 42 in the service manual for instructions. The steering section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 46. Check the power steering hoses for chafing. Check for leakage around the fittings and tighten if necessary. Replace any damaged hoses. After cleaning around the dipstick opening, remove the dipstick and check the fluid level. Use only approved, clean power steering fluid to fill the reservoir. Do not mix fluid types. To lubricate the steering driveline, apply multi-purpose chassis grease to the universal joints and slip joint spline. Wipe away any excess grease. Also lubricate the drag link at the pitman arm and axle steering arm ends. Apply grease until the old grease is forced out of the sockets. Tighten the steering gear bolts to the torque values given in Table 2 in Group 46. Note, after tightening the steering gear bolts, apply torque seal as recommended. The Electrical Instruments and Controls section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 54. This section contains details on checking the vehicle's entire electrical system, to include the electrical panel and dashboard wiring, ring terminals, relays, and connections. When checking the electrical system, be sure to check all the ring terminal nuts on the circuit breakers. They should be tightened to 30-inch pounds. The air conditioning section in the maintenance manual is designated as Group 83. Check and tighten the component mounting fasteners as necessary. Examine the refrigerant compressor drive belt and adjust the drive belt tension as necessary. Inspect the evaporator and condenser coils for debris and clean if necessary. Check the system for damaged hoses. Replace any damaged hoses and tighten all loose fittings. Start the engine and follow the step-by-step instructions in Group 83 of the maintenance manual for checking for proper air conditioner operation. The Freightliner FLD 120 Conventional is one of the toughest, most durable Class 8 vehicles available anywhere in the world. With proper maintenance, the FLD Conventional will continue to perform the way it was designed to, as the most practical and popular truck on the highway today. Because we believe that excellent vehicle servicing and maintenance builds lasting customer relationships, Freightliner's Service Training Department offers a number of maintenance and service courses to help you meet your customer satisfaction goals. For more information, write or call the Service Training Department in Portland, Oregon.